Our first review of the day is going to be for Revenge 2017. Revenge 2017 there. It's directed by Carly Falgeat there. People might know right now is blowing up the scene for directing The Substance, the highly Oscar-nominated film. Nominated on a lot of categories there at this recent 97th Academy Awards there. Ended up taking home a few things. Makeup there it took home. So that was pretty cool, but lost some of the bigger prizes. Demi Moore lost for Best Actress there, and lost for Best Picture. But hey, still cool that a body horror film of that nature was nominated. A lot of people said that's pretty nice there. But this is the first directorial debut film from Carly Falgeat there, and this is a rape revenge action thriller film here. And it is about a mistress there who's at a getaway spot there with this very rich guy, and then things go awry there when one of the members of the guy's hunting trip there sexually assaults her. And then, in attempt to cover up the sexual assault, they attempt to kill her. And then they attempt to finish the job. And then that's when she fights back against the guys there. So that's the setup you have of this film here. Now, this film I saw it on Apple Plus there through it was kind of through like the sometimes how streaming services will combine with other streaming services to pay
Yeah,
their
like cable.
yeah, you get an extra bonus there, add on there. Sometimes they'll do that. So I had to get Mubi to with Apple Plus in order to see this, but I don't regret it. I was able to do a free trial 7 days. I got to remember to cancel that shit before they charge me. So
Mm.
I was able to do that and then watch this. But even if I just paid outright like $5 or something for it, I don't think I would have hated that. This is a very great film, and I'll elaborate more on that later on. But Christina, what are your thoughts there on Revenge?
I love revenge films. I mean, this film has a lot of the classic tropes of like, the woman gets raped. Oh, she was
Mhm.
sexually promiscuous. That gives people permission to, do whatever to her. And, she becomes almost like a completely different person. Like strength wise, physicality's different, mentally is all different. So I was like, go, 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 Jen, go, Jen, go, Jen, during when she's finally gaining all like this, like it's almost like a superpower in a way.
Mhm.
Like it's crazy. I just love that. Some other films like I Spit on Your Grave, like there's ones that
Mhm.
I've done before that are a little bit that could be a bit much,
Mhm.
even by today's standards. But I love the idea of, using rape and sexual assault as a way for women to overcome something,
Mhm.
because it goes to show that when it comes to rape, a lot of women that are victims don't get justice. The
Mhm.
rape kits go untested. Someone like Brock Turner gets off easy, and there's nothing they can do.
Mhm.
So when it's almost like a vigilante type of situation where the woman is taking justice into her own hands
Mhm.
and fighting back. And I'm over here like, yeah, do what you got to do. Okay. Like, if we have the death penalty for murders, why don't we have, you know, that for rapists?
Mhm. And counter to that, a lot of films in the subgenre of rape revenge, it's never the actual victim of this crime who is doing the revenge part of it. It's always either like a father figure
Yeah.
or a friend of theirs who is seeking out justice. And
Yeah.
a lot of them, especially in something that comes to mind a lot for me with Last House on the Left, it
Yeah.
was they the victim of it is portrayed as super innocent, who's almost very pure and virgin like, as if this crime only matters when it's committed against them.
Yeah.
But I love that that Matilda Lutz's character, she is kind of the polar opposite of that. She's,
Yeah.
very promiscuous. She's very flirty. She is, knowingly having an affair with a married man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't justify what happens to her in the first act of this movie.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of in Cape Fear, especially
Mhm.
the Martin Scorsese one. They he emphasized that his victim was sexually promiscuous, and he hid, and Sam hid the report about that because he wanted to make sure that Max Cady would go to prison. But he's like, even if that evidence was brought up, I still think he would have still gone to prison. But I don't know, it was a different time back then. I don't know how they handled, rape cases where the woman was promiscuous. I don't know, but but you have a point, Nick, about the fact that it's usually like even in Jennifer's Body, that they marketed that really poorly, and it was a revenge story. I mean, now it's more culturally received positively, but back then they didn't really know what to market that film as. And I feel like
the movie was marketed purely off of Megan Fox's sex appeal after Transformers, which if you watch it, yes, the movie plays into that. And going back to here with Coralie Fargeat, a lot of the jokes that I had made with it is like, I remember one review on Letterboxd of The Substance. It was like, I actually was a second unit on this movie, and I had 2 jobs: ominous footage of palm trees and butts. And I did. I think I did a good job, and that is something that Fargeat, again, I think is cemented as a part of her style here, is how she is utilizing and critiquing the male gaze.
Yep. Yeah, that's something we talked about in our Substance review. She's flipping the script. Like sometimes when you're watching it, even it might make a man uncomfortable with they're like, yeah, I like looking at, tits and ass, but this is a bit much. Like it's like, whoa, it is something that people don't used to it.
And you see kind of the, like you said, the early elements of what she kind of, would later on to do with the Substance there. With that, especially people eating. I mean, that's probably always.
Close-ups. I'm like, I don't. Okay, fine. I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, the body horror is nothing," but the close-ups of people.
No, the most horrific thing in that movie is Dennis Quaid eating shrimp.
Yeah.
And you see that kind of make a return. For example, right here in this scene, right here, kind of going on. Man, that's just been messing up here lately. But right here, see very close up there of the mouth, where he's eating. And I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that's supposed to be.
I think it's one of those chocolate creamy
nougat. Yeah, it's like a nougat-y thing.
Yeah, I can't believe we're talking about this.
Yeah. So very much that comes back into kind of play there in her movie there. And you bring up the idea of the lead character in this, who's played by Matilda Lutz there, who plays Jen. And then apparently she's going to be Red Sonja, which is a movie coming out this year. So she's going to be doing that. The idea of the perfect victim is very much played out here. This girl who, likes to, obviously, she's having fun. She's wearing, half a crop top there, underwear, walking around in this house with all these kind of other guys there. It kind of plays with that a little bit of that idea. People say, oh, but what was she kind of wearing? What was she doing? What did she do to kind of bring it on?
Even after the incident happens, her boyfriend Richard is like, hey, you're too damn beautiful. It's hard to resist you.
Very much putting the blame on her there. That it's her fault for kind of what happened to her, as you see in the movie. It kind of has all that kind of going into it.
It kind of reminded me of when men come forward, they get mocked because they're like, oh, you couldn't handle, a woman attacking you. You're not manly enough. You're not tough enough. I'm like, it's all about power. It's all about the power. It's all about mostly the power. It doesn't really matter, So I'm surprised that there's maybe in the future we'll see it from a male victim's perspective,
which is kind of interesting, especially with us talking about Invincible later. There's an event in the comics that I hope gets adapted in later seasons, but I'd understand if Amazon is not gonna go
there. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, but I do like the fact that they tackled the the perfect victim situation, because I mean, it doesn't matter. A crime was still committed.
Yeah.
It's like when OJ murdered Nicole Brown Simpson. Yeah, they were having troubles after their marriage or whatever, but did she deserve what happened to her? No. And we all know he did it, so yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just the brutal nature of this movie, and not just like so many times when they're trying to chase her, and when she's kind of fighting back, and then again, it just goes to show like what she kind of does here. And this is also like a really gross moment in the movie here that something happens with glass.
Oh, oh,
That's a really kind of brutal moment in this scene right here. But just how it's just
oh,
like this open
oh.
kind of gaping type wound here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, you see that a lot even what happened with the substance. I mean, her key to really kind of hone in on that of kind of the blood, the guts, the gore there of it,
Yeah.
of
Again,
things.
this is nothing. It's the food that the eating that triggers us.
Yeah, that's
Bad
yeah, that's
ASMR too.
that's I could do all day, especially because this is Stan, who is the actual perpetrator of Jen's assault. So, yes,
Yeah.
more, more.
Yeah. It's funny because like I was so desensitized to horror when I was younger. I would be doing my math work, like first grade, like practice math work, and I'd be at my grandparents' house, and my grandfather would be watching Aliens, Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of like shocking horror films. And for like a 5 or 6 year old, I'm looking over, seeing the chest burster scene and going, "What?" And so I was, soft. My grandfather was softening me up. So like when people are like, "Oh, you can watch the Human Centipede or whatever," I'm like, yeah, I could eat a full plate of spaghetti and watch gory horror films. And they're like, "You're
Yeah.
weird," and I'm like, "Mm-hmm,
All the people on Twitter saying you're sick if you like horror movies. Well,
yeah,
Uh, yeah. And then the other people in the cast here you got rounded out. You got Kevin Jameson there who plays Richard, who's the boyfriend there. You also have as well Vincent Comey, and then Guillermo Buchdier and Jean Louis Tribes there, who also kind of rounds out the cast there as well. What did you think about the kind of the male figures in this movie? Do you think they were fit for kind of what this type of movie is? Did you want a little bit more depth
yeah,
and dimension with them, or
they
kind of?
they have about as much depth as you need for what Farja is tackling here, because
yeah,
this movie, all of her movies are about life through the lens of being female. With the substance, it's about aging and the fear of that. And here, it's about reclaiming power and examining a lot of the psychological and verbal violence towards women that
yeah,
happens. And all three male members of the cast, Richard, Stan, and Dimitri, they're all different aspects of toxic or fragile masculinity that lead to acts like that being committed.
Mm.
yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're the perfect, guys that needed to, that put the characters in place and do what they had to do. There's not really, much that is really necessary. Like, these guys don't have to be super, super complex because, like, it reminds me of, Promising Young Woman.
Mhm.
Coralie and Emerald are two female directors who are directing movies that are like shocking to people. Like a lot of people are, as much as people say they hate a Saltburn, I'm like, yeah, but
Mhm.
it was popular. It was all over the place. It was
Yeah,
all over the internet.
y'all, yeah, y'all were talking about it
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. And then they're mad about Wuthering Heights being adapted, and I'm like, oh god, I'm like, I don't care about books. Like, I know I know it's gonna be shocking, but I'm like, it might get me interested to actually read Wuthering Heights for once in my life. But there's always this like backlash to how female directors write male characters. I'm like,
Mhm.
but you see how male screenwriters and directors portray female characters sometimes. It's new and refreshing to actually have a woman's perspective. That's one thing Matilda was pointing out when doing the rape scene. She's like,
Mhm.
it's like, you do need an intimacy coordinator.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, and for anybody who's hearing how we're talking about this, seeing that it is a rape revenge film, who might be triggered by that, just to kind of somewhat put the mind at ease, the film doesn't linger on it at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't show the actual act being committed, but you get there psychologically. In that scene that we were showing with the character Dimitri, who like eats that like weird snack thing and just leaves the room.
Yeah.
It's like that aspect of the guy who knows this is going on but just doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it kind of it reminds me of oh God, what was her name? She's the reason why we have like 911. She was murdered on the street. She called for help. A lot of people just watched her bleed to death on the ground in like New York City or in Brooklyn somewheres. Um, and so there's always that idea that there are people who are watching what's going on. A rape or a murder, they're not going to do anything, or even like a kidnapping. There's people are just going to stand by and let it happen. And it's like, why didn't you try to help? Do something like that. That would be me if I saw something horrific going on. Like if I saw like a guy try to get like a girl who's very, very like drunk to go in her, I'd be like, I'm not letting that happen. I don't know what's going on here, but I can only assume that something bad is probably going to happen.
And Nick, you bring up a really great point there of how this film represents, three kind of different types of guys that you may kind of come encounter. You have the lead guy here, and Richard, who's more of the gaslighter, I would say there.
The gaslighter, the almost borderline sociopath when it comes to this, because he's the one who is like down to straight up murder Jen from jump.
Yeah. He's the one that ends up pushing her off the cliff there onto the branch there as well. Then you have the character you mentioned, Dimitri, who's the one that was eating the whatever the hell that was there, that nasty ass snack. And then he's kind of more like the person like Kristina was mentioning that doesn't really do anything, that kind of just sees something going on, knows it's wrong, but kind of just ignores it, and then he goes swimming later. He goes for a swim. He's like, man,
while it's happening.
Yeah. Like, man, I need to be refreshed. And then you have the main perpetrator of the actual crime there. I guess you could say the nice guy, I guess you could say there, or the one that overly
who got flirted with Jen the night before the assault happens, and thinks because she was flirty the night before, that entitles him to her.
Yeah. Stupid. I hate it.
So yeah, you got that kind of those kind of three aspects in the film kind of going on.
Like I gotta say, I'm a Libra. I'm a natural flirter. I flirt with everyone. Okay, like that's my whole thing. Like it's just we're super nice, but then it's like you're flirting. I'm like, I said hello.
Well, maybe you had him at hello. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah,
that's the cross we got to bear. Hello, Libra.
But I mean, yeah, for that, I mean, for a movie that, I mean, this is not a very long movie. I mean, it's not a very complex kind of setup you got kind of going on here.
And the rape scene doesn't go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Like it goes against the idea when like people use rape as a plot device, and it just leads to nowhere. It's just for shocking purposes. Like there's nothing like that's what pissed me off about like Game of Thrones. I'm like, this character doesn't get raped in the books. Why are they using them to get raped in the show? Like it always pissed me off.
And especially when a lot of films in this subgenre shoot the rape scenes, there's almost like this lingering aspect, almost like you're supposed to be titillated by it in a sense.
Yeah.
What was that movie? I know people were upset with that movie with what's it called, Ellie, with Elizabeth Huppert there, because that movie includes, I know was not Ellie, but it was a movie with her in it, that actress, and then I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but she gets sexually assaulted, and then there was like a big controversy about that, about the way it was kind of portrayed there.
What movie was this? It was
let me see if I can find it, but it was a movie there. I think it was Ellie or Elle there, that she was in, with Elizabeth Huppert in it, and it was directed by Paul Verhoeven. It was the Paul Verhoeven film.
Was it like on? Is it?
Elle. The Paul Verhoeven movie from 2016.
I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I know that was a movie. It wasn't super recent. It came out like 9 years ago. But I know there was a big controversy around that, and just that kind of sparked about things about way sexual assault is portrayed in film there. And kind of how it happens. Do you think it's better now the way it's portrayed in film, or?
Well, it just depends on the director and the writers and stuff like that. So it depends on these days, a lot of people, men, and even some women, are bitching about why do we need intimacy coordinators? Because it's not to protect just the actors. There's more than two people on set. There's the directors, there's lighting, there's crew, there's the mic, there's the boom. Like I'm like, it's for everyone to feel comfortable when you're doing a scene that's kind of uncomfortable. Like,
Mhm.
especially if you're doing a sexual assault, you gotta make sure everything is okay. Because I know mentally, if you're shooting a scene, especially if you were a victim at some
Mhm.
point, you gotta feel very comfortable about that.
Mhm.
But it's just crazy how some actors are like, no, we don't use them. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mm,
Recently,
okay.
wasn't the thing with
Yeah,
Gwyneth Paltrow?
the recent controversy was with Mikey Madison and
Yeah,
how they didn't have one on the set of Annoying. And on some level, if the performers are comfortable with it, and Sean Baker, he's more of an indie guy. He works with a lot of people in the circle of sex work,
yeah.
so I can kind of see it on that level. However, better to have one and not need one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow and Timothy Chalamet. I'm like, I thought this movie was about chess or something. Like, why are you talking about having sex all the time? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a lot of sex scenes in that movie. Apparently, with her and Timothy Chalamet there.
I thought it was about chess.
Well, hey, chess can be sexy. It could be sexy
I
sometimes.
Hey,
guess.
we all saw the Queen's Gambit.
Mhm.
Uh, it says here, Paltrow and Chalamet apparently told the coordinator to reframe. We said, I think we're good. You can step a little bit back. Paltrow said in an interview, I don't know I don't know how it is for kids who are starting out, but for if someone is like, okay, and then he's going to put his hand here, I would feel as an artist very stifled by that. So that was kind
Mhm.
of thoughts on the intimacy
Oh
coordinator
my god.
situation.
Hmm.
But
Well, let's be honest. Gwyneth Paltrow is not the most in touch person with the zeitgeist.
Yeah, she says the weirder stuff. I mean, for God's sake, she won an Oscar for Best Actress for Shakespeare in Love. Okay, I'm not gonna go on a tangent about that. That was Harvey Weinstein, but still, anyway. Um, but yeah, I feel like, but when it comes to industry coordinators, I feel like a film like this, definitely need one.
mm,
And I do think that it's good that the rape comes and goes, but the focus is on what comes after. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of movies try to focus on, remember she got raped, remember she got raped, remember she got
Mhm.
raped, remember this happened, and I'm like,
E-
I get it, but like,
Yeah,
focus on
even
her growing.
yeah, even a movie where it's kind of vital to the plot with something like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah,
Even in that film, it comes and goes, and more emphasis is on the aftermath of it than the
yeah,
actual act itself.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I saw both. I saw
I
the
got
original version and the one with Rooney Mara.
Yeah, my take. I like the David Fincher one more.
Mm,
Oh wow,
Hmm.
um,
wow.
yeah. And when she's kind of picking off these guys one by one, it is exhilarating there. When it leads to kind of the final battle, especially like all this blood and slipping
Oh,
and sliding and
yeah,
everything.
it is more blood than could possibly be contained in the human body without you passing out or going into shock. But that's something that Coralie Fargeat loves playing with the suspension of disbelief. She didn't want the violence to be, super grounded. She wanted something a little bit more fantastical.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at what movie. Okay, Evil Dead Rise is known for using a massive amount of fake blood, with the director saying they used 6,500 liters.
Yeah.
So mostly it's the Evil Dead films that have used the most blood. From looking at it.
Do you
Yeah,
guys have?
but it stands out most in here because this villa that they're in is so kind of very crisp, very modern, a lot of white furniture and architecture.
Yeah, it makes it look nicer. Makes it stand out, which is great.
But this was I could see why she kind of moved on there from bigger and better things. This was a great directorial debut from her, Carly Falger there. So this was my first time seeing it. I know Christina had already seen it beforehand. There, but yeah, I could definitely see. Yeah, these are the makings of the substance there with this film. I can't wait to see what she does next for her third film. There, and
Yeah.
I like this as much there. Um, yeah. What would be your kind of final thoughts and rating for Revenge there, Christina?
This is cinema. Like that's all I have to say. Like it's I mean it's a strong directorial debut. I really look forward to see what more she has to do. If it's anything like Revenge and the Substance, I feel like she's gonna make body horror more mainstream because that's something that's missing in the genre. Like everything is too meta. Everything, that's what Conan and I say. We talk about how everything's too meta, like too like self-aware when it comes to horror. And I feel like body horror is what's missing in the horror genre as a whole. But I feel like with Coralie, it's going to become more popular. It's not going to be like Human Centipede or like, your typical cheesy, provocative body horrors that just, that are just for shock value. There's going to be some, wait for it, substance to these films.
But
Yeah.
What
So
about
I recommend this.
what about you, Nick?
yeah, I'm not a big fan of the rape revenge subgenre for all the reasons that I've said before. It's a very sensitive topic that I think a lot of directors and writers mishandle. They focus more on how, oh my God, this woman was assaulted. What does her dad and her brother think about it? Instead of focusing on the character that this happened to. And the journey that this movie goes on in Matilda Lutz is Jen. It is a extremely very cool look of reclaiming your power after this kind of intense traumatic thing happens. And I mean that with the intensity and the violence of it. It is, gnarly, it's insane to watch. It's some amazing practical gore that you see, especially because this is a very small budgeted film and this is probably in the 2010s. I think this is probably one of the better directorial debuts. I absolutely, all of my hype from The Substance came from knowing this movie and how great it was, how great a movie it was, and kind of shocked that Coralie Fargeat hadn't directed a film in between that. But yeah, I can't give this anything but this is cinema. It is a very sensitive subject matter, but if you can stomach it, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. If it's not too triggering for you or anything like that and your experiences, I recommend this movie as well. I give it a good strong tune in, bordering on a peak there. Like I said, it is on movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have a higher rating. Yeah. Oh wait, yeah, this is. Oh wait, cinema is the highest. Never mind.
Yeah.
For a second.
Yeah. If people want to check it, it's on Mubi right now. If you can sign up with your email, 7 days free trial there, and then cancel it afterwards. And then
I keep the movie subscription because they always put different, new films. That's how I was able to watch a few of the foreign films that were nominated.
Yeah, a lot of foreign films end up there. A lot of directors' early works end up popping up on there. The Substance, it's one of the places you can watch it on.
Yeah.
But to Nick's, he brought up a point of like best directorial debuts of the 2010s. See a list here that Screen Rant did of some of the best ones. You have A Star Is Born. This is the End.
I like it.
Eighth Grade. Son of Saul. Booksmart. Fruitvale Station. Sorry to Bother You. A Girl Walks Home at Night.
Get Out, of course, which came out the same year.
Get Out, that came out as well. Yeah,
I like Us. It's actually, I think today's the anniversary, or yesterday was the anniversary when Us came out, and I'm like, as a white person, going to see Us in a predominantly black theater, oh my god, it's the best experience you will ever
that was
have.
The best time I ever had in my whole life.
I was like, yeah, people, fuck the police. Like MW. like it was my hero. Was like, this white chick, she's got it. I'm like, I love this.
This white chick's down with the culture.
I know, it was just so funny. I was like, and then the ending, I was like, oh my god, like I always tell people, I'm like, it's the same thing like with Black Panther, but it was a different experience because it's like, wow, there's a superhero that young black kids could look up to. Like it was a very nice feeling, but with a horror movie, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a short appeal. I'm like, this is gonna be an experience.
Yeah. All right. So, this is Cinemas for Revenge, and I give it a high tune in for me for Revenge 2017. There.